Well, hello and welcome to Ground Level's Wednesday Wisdom. So today we are chatting to the wonderful Roy Ealden, and we're picking up some of our series on reinventing in lockdown. So Roy's going to chat to us about how he has reinvented and how he's doing things differently, sort of in lockdown and hopefully post-lockdown too, and pre-lockdown, what Roy was up to. So it'd be great to chat to you, Roy. First of all, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
I started lockdown as an artist in the community. I had projects on the go. I was helping people to communicate through art, people in difficult circumstances, some with learning difficulties, some with mental health problems, some with dementia, Alzheimer's and stuff like that. And all my projects were stopped. I was redundant. There was nothing for me. And I went through a period of reflection, I suppose you could say. Where do we go from here is quite apt. I was doing art for the church at the time. I was doing a piece commissioned by Paul Blundell. And this art became a real passion in the early part of lockdown, and God spoke to me through my art, and I got very passionate about it. Like all of us, we felt that lockdown wasn't going to be that long. It was all going to be over by spring, and I was going to burst forth with all these wise wisdoms, and everybody would take notice, and we would sort of walk forward on the stuff that I'd been basing my art on, the thoughts I'd been basing my art on. The art is called If My People. It's a 3-piece. It's very large. It's 6 feet by 6 in 3 pieces. So we can take it down and put it anywhere. We can go to the north, we can go to the south, we can talk about it. But the main thread is what it's called. It's called If My People Will Humble Themselves. It's just called If My People. And that was the main early Bible verse that I was working on. And I felt very strongly that Jesus had already left the churches, that he was out there in the community, and he desperately wanted us to get out there and mix it with people who didn't know him at all. And so I produced the work, I showed it to leaders, and it was well received. And there was nothing I could do with it. And that was confusing, as it often is in Christianity. It's in my shed still, and I guess it's on pause still. It's still waiting to be released. It is well cared for, and it will be shown by the time we get all out of all this, my friends.
Yeah.
So during that time, I got a word from Psalm 32, verse 8. I will guide you and teach you the way you should go. I will counsel you and watch over you. So I was thinking the way I should go. I was already walking and biking for myself to keep fit and stuff like that. And I felt really much stronger. So I had the feeling that if I started inviting the people that I was phoning because of my church commitments, then maybe some of them would respond and we could walk together and talk. So that was the basis of getting out and about. And it was a selfish thing, because I wanted to feel better. I wanted to feel wanted and being used and trying to help people. And I had no way. So this was the one way I felt that I could help people get through, basically.
Yeah, well, that's so good to hear the journey that God's taken you on, Roy, and kind of, from being in a position where you were doing so much with so many people in, art, that, you can't do art very well remotely, can you, when you're, showing people how to do those things. And I think it's great to hear the journey that God's taken you on, and obviously that hasn't quite reached its fulfillment yet, has it? And hopefully we'll be able to see that piece and share that with the world a bit at some point. Um, so what have you actually started doing at the moment? So you mentioned this kind of walking. Who's that with? What does that look like? And what's kind of the aim for that?
So we had a midweek, midday connect group, and I was one of the people tasked with phoning those chaps up and asking them how they were each week. We also have our shed, which is Lincoln Central at the moment, and that was designed for people that just wanted to meet other people who felt lonely and felt perhaps a bit vulnerable, but they didn't quite know how to connect with other chaps. So I had these connections, and I felt that God asked me to extend those connections. So I was already phoning, but then as we got out of lockdown into the rule of six, because I do fervently believe that whatever we do, we should be safe. So I got into the rule of six. So I started inviting people for walks and bike rides and that sort of thing. So the shed was no more like every other project I was on, but we were sort of the shed released. The shed suddenly started to take on a life of its own. And I think this is the great thing about Psalm 32. It encourages you to do that. I will guide you and teach you the way you should go. I had no idea this was going to happen to me. It's just sort of developed without any meetings, without any sort of direction, really. It's just evolved organically into what it is today, with just guys meeting up when and where they can.
Yeah. And do you think that has helped, Roy? Do you think people have engaged with that better than some of the online things that people can do?
There's a whole bundle of people. Online is good, and it's helped me through, but there's something about face to face that's really much more different. And I felt again selfishly that it would help me as would help others. I was quite surprised how many yeses I got. So I soon found that 5 people weren't enough. So I was doing 2 bike rides and a walk and meeting someone at a cafe. And it's been a wonderful journey. There is hopes and dreams that will come out of this, but there's something that I felt God keep drawing me back to, that God and Jesus was already out there on the streets, and it was up to me to go out there and meet him on the streets and introduce people to my friend Jesus. Not necessarily preaching it, but they know very well where I come from. But just showing who I am and that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, no, that's so good. And so you'd say that out of this, what was quite a structured community to start off with, like you say, the shed with like, a meeting time and a meeting place.
Yeah.
Actually, out of that's come this real sense of community.
Yeah. So there are comings and goings. People get very keen for a bit and then they drop off and then they come back for a bit. You just have to keep plugging away, providing the bike rides, and people have benefited in various ways. I've actually taught a guy to ride a bike. We've given him a bike and he's biking around. We've also taught him how to ride a bike on British roads, because he was on the wrong side of the road to start with. Came from Latvia originally, and he is going to church. He was in church yesterday at Alive Central. So God works in mysterious ways, doesn't he? I was looking for someone to mend bikes, and I found someone to mend bikes. It's I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what's going to happen, what God's going to do with this, or what he's going to do with me. But I do know for now, it's really important that I just carry on doing this, when I can.
Yeah, and
because,
I think the
really,
really important things is that, in all of these things, the why remains strong, doesn't it? The why we did the thing before is still important, and the why we should do it now is still important, but it's just that the how needs to look all of the time, doesn't it? Whatever we can do is important and should be explored. And I think it's so great to hear some of the things that you've seen as a result of this, Roy, and how you've built that sense of community among people that have really struggled to connect during this time. So what are your hopes post lockdown, if we can see really far into the future as your painting shows? What are your hopes for kind of post this time, and has that changed from what you would have hoped for originally before we went into this time?
I don't know which of my projects will come back, so there's full of question marks. But I do know there's something in this physical thing. I don't know whether the shed will be the same again, but I do know that the people of the shed will meet up. I'm hoping for a cycle hub. Let's go into hopes and dreams and absolute impossibilities here. I'm hoping for a cycle hub where, and I am concerned with men because they have been going through really difficult times really quietly. Believe me, I know. I've been with them during struggles, and it's been a really tough time. But a place where people could go, like a less poor. I don't know if you know the railway station, but Giant have got a hub, a cycle hub there. It would be like that. You'd be able to drop your bikes there safely. You'd be able to have a coffee or something like that. Maybe there'd be, I really am dreaming here, there'd be workshops on how to maintain your bikes and that sort of thing. And there'd be organization about bike riding for fun and also bike riding for charity. I'm in contact with a couple of other groups. James Frost runs a group, and he does bike rides and things, and maybe it will develop a charity thing, or we'll join his charity works and that sort of stuff. There are other Christians that are involved in Lincolnshire biking associations and stuff like that. So there is great possibilities, and I don't think we should discount anything. That's the main thing. No matter how weird it feels outside lockdown, it suddenly starts to make sense inside lockdown. In other words, I think God was teaching me different ways of interacting. And for instance, if you're talking to a guy and you get the inclination that he wants some food, he trusts you now to say, yeah, I do. Can you get some food for me? And I've got contacts with the food bank and I'm able to get them food. And that probably wouldn't have happened if I didn't happen to know these chaps. You know, there's lots of stories that will come out after that have been inspiring me to keep going. Okay.
So good. That's so good. Well, thank you so much, Roy. It's really great to hear those stories of how you've made such a big difference in the lives of these guys in the middle of this quite challenging time for everybody. So thank you for all that you do. And I think I can say on behalf of everyone watching today that, you know, we love it when people like yourself, Roy, take the initiative to get on and just build community and just build relationships and friendships and just be there for people. And so thank you, Roy, for all that you do. And thank you for joining us for today's Wednesday Wisdom. I hope some of that's been helpful. I really encourage you to think about the how. You know, there may be projects that you were running that you were thinking, you know, we know why we were doing this, but we just can't do it. Well, maybe just think, how can we do it differently? How could we kind of unpick a project and do something to make it work differently based on what is and what isn't possible in each restriction? So hopefully that's helpful to you, and hopefully you'll join us again on another Wednesday Wisdom. Thank you.